This is Ranking Star Trek Part 3. I hope it doesn't suck too bad. Thanks for watching anyway.
Goodbye, David.
The traditional sentiment is that all odd movies of Star Trek suck. Obviously, having The Search for Spock in my top 5, I strongly disagree. One reason, for me at least, is that this is the first time cinematically we get to see the Klingons in action. Now, I know we got to see them in the motion picture, but pretty much they just got their ass kicked by V'ger. This we're actually getting some personality, who they are, character traits. It's kind of analogous to The Night of the Living Dead. That was the birth of the modern zombie. This was, so really, The Search for Spock is the birth of the modern Klingon. And who do they get to play the lead Klingon? Christopher Lloyd. The dude's awesome. Doc himself, Doc Brown. And that was some genius casting. I mean, no, okay, he's not Khan, but he's a pretty damn good villain. And really, he kind of creates the archetype for the villain Klingon from here on out. I mean, he was fabulous. And very important in the history of Star Trek, might I add. And you get Mark Leonard, who makes his debut playing Sarek, Spock's father, butthole father. But that's very important. He plays the same role, I believe, in episode 4 and 6. And also has a recurring role in The Next Generation. And great episodes. So that also is important in the history of Star Trek. And yes, of course, they destroy the Enterprise. But unlike some of these other Star Trek movies, they do it in a respectful manner. It just didn't feel like those other Star Trek movies took the destruction of the Enterprise seriously. Again, the Enterprise is a character all into itself. So when it gets destroyed, it's like an important character is dying. And Star Trek 3 gives it its reverence. Alright, they just don't treat it like it's nothing. I mean, you got Kirk and everybody who arrives safely on Genesis. They see this, the Enterprise streaking across the sky in a big ball of flames. And Kirk is like, my God, what have I done? It's treated with that reverence. You've been through a lot with this ship. It is a member of the crew. And you just never get that feeling with the reboot Star Trek or Star Trek Genesis especially. I mean, you had a lot invested in that Enterprise, and it's like, okay, we crashed it, we destroyed it. Oh well. And I just hated that. The biggest thing, the reason why Star Trek 3 makes my top 5 is that you see all the love everybody has for Spock. I mean, they're going back to Genesis, they're risking their careers, they're stealing the Enterprise, and they don't even know that he's alive. They just think they're going to, recover his body and put his soul back into him. So you may feel different, but to me, The Search for Spock deserves to be squarely inside my top 5.
Sweetheart, can you hear me? I love you so much. I love you.
Star Trek 2009 is one of those movies that when I went to see it in theaters, I was really looking forward to it. I mean, J.J. Abrams was connected to it, and he's a genius. And it's one of those few that I'm really hyped up to see it, and it surpasses my expectations. I mean, it was so creative, so imaginative, how they rebooted that, and inserting the old Spock into it, and how they did that. It was just so creative. I absolutely love this movie. Every time it's on, I'm watching it. And it's got a terrific cast. Eric Bana, he's outstanding as the main villain, Nero. Bruce Greenwood, he's fantastic as Christopher Pike. And I love the fact they included the character of Christopher Pike, which, most people don't remember from the old series. He was the the original captain of the Enterprise, and then he gets screwed up, then Kirk takes over. And I love how they incorporated that. Then you got Winona Ryder. I mean, that's a cool addition as Spock's mother. And then there's the casting of the original characters. And that was so on point. And one of the things that really impressed me about this movie, it seemed like every single choice was perfect. The 2009 version of Star Trek, it's just great. It's great. I had to put it in my top 5. The effects are awesome. Like I said before, the casting's awesome. The comedy's awesome. The action is great. It just has everything. It has everything. I got no complaints with this movie. I thought J.J. Abrams, as a director, did a perfect job.
Excuse me, sir. Can you direct me to the naval base in Alameda? It's where they keep the nuclear vessels. Nuclear vessels.
Without a doubt, the most beloved movie in all of Star Trek. The Voyage Home. The one with the whales. At least that's what my mother used to say. And it's a very different kind of Star Trek movie. The whole adventure takes place on the Klingon bird of prey instead of the Enterprise. The movie has a political point it hits on about conservation. You know, let's don't kill off all the whales because, you know, that might cause us to die. Star Trek was always known for its Cold War themes. You know, the Klingons are playing the Russians and the Federation's playing America. Or, you know, they'll play some racial themes as well in Star Trek. But on this one, they kind of leave that one alone. They leave those kind of issues alone, and they go with on the conservation route, which makes it a little easier and less, I don't know, threatening maybe, or less heavy, you know, to digest. And, you know, most of the movie takes place in the 19th century versus the 23rd century. This is one of the first times that Star Trek, to me, gets the time travel thing right. Most of the episodes on The Next Generation or DS9 that deal with time travel, I hate. Can't stand it. Same thing with the old series. I didn't like the time travel episodes. They just suck to me. I mean, that's a whole nother video. But in this, it's great. You got all the fish out of water stuff. You know, Spock, you know, trying to learn how to cuss properly. And then Kirk screwing that up too. You know, then the whole, you know, this threat of money, you know, hey, I'll give you $100 for the glasses. Is that a lot? Yeah, I guess. You know, what does correct change mean? Double dumbass on you. I mean, there's so much greatness in here. Everything's quotable in this movie. And it's a lot to do with the comedy. It has a lot of heart to it. And again, a lot of the, you know, the original cast we all know and love, but it also has some other great, you know, every Star Trek will put in some other people to star with the original cast. Catherine Hicks, she comes in and plays Dr. Gillian Taylor, and she's great. I mean, she plays off of Kirk and Spock really well. The chemistry's definitely there. And on a side note, Brock Peters, he plays Admiral Cartwright, and also he's Captain Sisko's father in DS9. I thought that was kind of an interesting note. But I don't have to tell you all about Star Trek 4. I mean, you've probably seen it. Everyone's seen it. It's fantastic. And if you haven't seen it, I don't know. Maybe you're just not human. I absolutely love the old Star Trek movies, you know, the old cast. They're perfect. I mean, well, they're not, all the movies obviously are not perfect, but that's what really holds a place in my heart, those 6 movies. And this, The Undiscovered Country, was the perfect way to say goodbye. And that's why I have it at number 2. Now, I know a lot of, every list you'll see has The Voyage Home number 2. And the reason I don't is because that probe in the Voyage Home, if you even want to consider it a villain, it's not really. But it's the same thing as Voyager, you know. It's two machines coming to Earth, and they're sending out messages, they're trying to communicate, and then wrecking shop trying to communicate. Of course, we can't communicate back with them. You know, we have to solve those two problems in two different ways in order to save the Earth. But essentially, it's kind of the same thing as Voyager. So I kind of knocked the Voyage Home a little bit for that. This, on the other hand, it's a murder whodunit. It's a political thriller tied in with comedy and action. I mean, it was really well done. And the cast. This has got the greatest overall cast of any Star Trek movie, period. Alright, now let's start with Iman, right? She was a big-time supermodel back in the day, David Bowie's wife. But you also have great character actors in this. I mean, let's start with W. Morgan Shepard. He played the warden in Rua Pinte. He was you might know him from Elvira, Mistress of the Dark, or The Elephant Man, Needful Things, Max Headroom. You have Kurtwood Smith. He was the outstanding father on that '70s show, and also one of the main villains in RoboCop. You have Rosanna DeSoto. She was the mother of Richie Valens in La Bamba. And of course, Michael Dorn. Instead of playing Lieutenant Worf, he's playing Colonel Worf. I don't know if that's supposed to be his father or not. I have no idea. You got David Warner. All right, he plays the Chancellor, Klingon Chancellor. All right, his list. I mean, good lord: Titanic, The Omen, the main villain in Tron, The Devil and Time Bandits, and of course the great Christopher Plummer playing General Chang. And come on, Sound of Music, Dreamscape, Malcolm X, Dolores Claiborne, 12 Monkeys. The dude's done everything. And of course, we all know Kim Cattrall plays Lieutenant Valeris. And even Christian Slater makes an appearance in this. Come on, that's the greatest cast ever in a Star Trek movie. How they deal with the racial tension between humans and Klingons is brilliant in this. I mean, Kirk tells Spock, let him die. Right? Screw helping him. Just let him die. It's brutal. But it's a kind of a reflection somewhat of our life here on Earth. And it's part of what makes this so great. And it almost comes to a tear every time I see it and see the end scene. Greatness.
Requesting communication, sir.
Let them eat static.
They're still running with shields down.
Of course, we are one big happy fleet. Ah, Kirk, my old friend. Do you know the Klingon proverb that tells us revenge is a dish that is best served cold? It is very cold in space.
This movie needs no introduction. If you have not seen this movie, you should probably just die. Or, go ahead and rent it or get it on Vudu or whatever. But the absolute best sci-fi movie ever. Not just the greatest Star Trek movie. The greatest sci-fi movie ever. With the greatest villain ever. Khan. Khan is the greatest villain. Not just in Star Trek. Damn near in all the sci-fi. It's Shakespearean how this movie plays out. And I'm not going to go through all the plot and the whole thing with you. There's no need to do that. Everyone's seen it. You know it. You love it. So many quotes. So many memes. But it's got everything. I've seen it a million times. I'll see it a million more before I'm dead. That's just how great this flick is. It's like some classic book that has been turned into a movie. It's how great these characters are. And I can't go on and on enough about just how great Khan is. Ricardo Montalban. God bless that man.
Khan, bloodsucker. You're gonna have to do your own dirty work now. Do you hear me? Do you? Kirk. Kirk, you're still alive, my old friend. Still old friend.
I've done far worse than kill you. I've hurt you. And I wish to go on hurting you. I shall leave you as you left me, as you left her, marooned for all eternity in the center of a dead planet. Buried alive, buried alive.
They must have wrote the script on a steak or something, because he just chews the living hell out of it. Every scene he's in, he doesn't disappoint. That's what makes him great. There's no lag time for Khan. There's no, I'm gonna get a frappe and just chill out for a minute. Hell no, there's no chilling out. I gotta kill this sumbitch. I gotta kill me some Kirk. Oh, I just love it. And the stakes in this are at its optimum, at the highest of stakes, right? That's one of my problems with the Next Generation. It's a big problem I have with the Next Generation movies. It always seems like they're never there as far as, everything's going to go to hell. Star Trek Beyond was kind of the same way. Even some of the other, Star Trek movies with the old cast, The Final Frontier, for instance. It just didn't seem, this was like personal, all right? And it was meant to be that way. It was personal for Khan, and he made you feel it.
No, you can't get away. From hell's heart, I stab at thee. For hate's sake, I spit my last breath at thee.
And there's so many things that make the Wrath of Khan so great, or I should say the greatest. But you have a villain of this magnitude. In order to defeat said villain, you're going to have to pay a big price. And we all know the price, right? Spock gives his life. Because the needs of the many outweigh the needs of the one. And that's just the kind of guy Khan is. He's going to put you in that, he's going to put you in check. And you're not going to have an easy way out. Because he's willing to die to kill you. He's more than willing to die as long as you're dead too. So the only way to escape it is you gotta meet death with death. I mean, there's not enough good things to say about this movie. And I shouldn't. This is an absolute classic. And just these scenes at the end are just completely gut-wrenching. It really showcases, just how good these actors are. I mean, William Shatner. I mean, you don't really think of William Shatner as, some great, Oscar-winning actor or anything like that. But man, does he come through here. I mean, you feel it. And that last scene where he's, talking, he's presiding over the funeral of Spock. He was the most human person I've ever known. I mean, in a way, it's supposed to, to Vulcans, that's a kind of that's not a pleasant thing to hear, that you're human. But from Kirk, that was the greatest thing he could ever say about his friend. And it just sticks with you, man. That this whole movie just sticks with you. It stuck with me since childhood, adolescence, young adulthood, and now into midlife. It's pretty rarefied air for a movie to stick with me my whole life. There's not many that can do that. Anyway, I very much appreciate you watching this video. Hopefully you watched the whole series. If not, you can go back and check them out. But I'll be back with something. Halloween's around the corner. Till then, bye.
Date 9529.1. This is the final cruise of the Starship Enterprise under my command. This ship and her history will shortly become the care of another crew. To them and their posterity will we commit our future. They will continue the voyages we have begun and journey to all the undiscovered countries, boldly going where no man, where no one has gone before.